What is up, guys? It is DMG here, and today we have an instructions video for the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow, which is the 4-1-2-1-2 with the center mids. Now, I've been using this a lot more recently, and I still haven't really found my formation that I'm 100% comfortable with, that I use or want to use every single game, but I'm finding formations that do well against certain other formations. So I use this one a lot in the weekend league, and using a certain instruction, which I'll mention when we get to when we get to that point. It gave me a couple more wins, and it gave me just a little bit better, I guess, not perspective, but it just gave me a little bit better edge gameplay wise. So again, we'll get to that point when we'll talk about it. And but again, this is a formation that a lot of people use. A lot of people still think it's overpowered, and I mean, it is pretty overpowered, and a lot of people still use it. So without further ado, let's get into the instructions. So obviously center mids, we don't do anything. For the left and right backs, now this is the one that I mentioned before, that I actually changed from last year and the previous years as well. And that is actually just leaving it on balanced. I leave it on balanced, leave it on the default for the left and right backs. I don't have one stay back while attacking like I normally do. And the reason for that is because in this narrow formation, right, you need people going out wide. But along with that, when you are on, so, just for your added benefit, that's nice to have people going out wide for, added support out wide. But what's really nice is that the defense, in this narrow formation, they usually suck in, because they don't expect the right back or the left back to be making these runs forward. So what happens is the left back, the left center back, left defensive mid, the furthest out wide that they're typically going to be, not always, but majority of the time, they're going to be near that striker spot. So, at our right striker, we have Paco Alcacer, right? So whoever the opponent's left back is, left center back, left defensive mid, or just defensive mid, the furthest out they're going to be is near that striker spot, right near Paco Alcacer. So that leaves a lot of space for our right back, or left back if we're making rundowns, left backs or the left wing. That's going to leave a lot of space for those players to do something, right? So especially for Florenzi, who's good at shooting, it's like what, 77, 78, 79 shooting. He's going to be able to take that shot all day and run with it. I actually had João Cancelo playing in that spot over the weekend league, and he actually got me like 4 or 5 goals just from doing that, and he could have had more if his shooting was actually better as well. So again, the left and right backs, or the left backs, right backs, left center backs, right center backs, whatever, the furthest out wide they're going to go is those striker spots. So with having those left and right backs kind of making those runs forward, they're going to be able to get some goals for you, or at least provide some assists, provide some chances for you. Moving on to the midfield. So for the defensive mid, honestly pretty self-explanatory. Stay back while attacking, cover center. Right, he's a central defensive mid. He's in the very, very middle of the field. We don't need him or even want him to be going out wide. We want him to be staying central. We want him to be staying back while attacking, because he's a defensive-minded player. We don't want him to be going forward. So that's pretty self-explanatory. So then for the left and right center mids, so just typically, I put the little bit more, defensive-minded player or defensive-minded midfielder, center mid on the left side, and then the more attacking player on the right side. Not saying you have to have an attacking player and a box-to-box midfielder in your center mid spots. Just typically, I usually have the box-to-box player on the left and the more attacking player on the right. And the reason for that is, sometimes the left center mid and the defensive mid switch, and then the right center mid and the attacking mid switch. So, I don't want my, box-to-box mid to be going to play Cam, because he's not as good as that compared to, our more attacking center mid. Now, that doesn't happen as much as the previous 2 years, but it still happens enough to where you should probably keep that in mind. Now, I'm not saying you have to make adjustments to your team for that, but keep that in mind. So in this case, it works out because Bernadeschi's left-footed, right? So we have him on the right side that he can cut in and then finesse it on his left. So it's not really a big deal. But if we had 2 attacking players, then it wouldn't really matter. If we had 2 box-to-box mids, it wouldn't really matter. If we had a really good attacking player, then I would put him on the left. I remember we had Talisca Informed Tiliska actually playing on the left side, even though we had a more box-to-box player who could have been there in his spot. So, again, it just kind of depends, but typically that's what I do. So for the instructions, I have one of them on stay back while attacking, stay on the edge of the box for crosses. In fact, I have both of them on stay on the edge of the box for crosses. But for, again, one of them is on stay back while attacking. For the other one, it's kind of up to you. So, you kind of have to, one, kind of see what your opponent's doing, but two, this is kind of what your style of play is. So if you're more possession-based, then I would have it on stay back while attacking. If you're more counter-attacking, then I would rather have it on balanced attack. And the reason for that, let's say, you're more possession-based, right? Let's say you're more possession-based. With that slow build-up, you're going to have support from that left and right center mid no matter what, rather if they're on balanced attack or on stay back while attacking. So, Goretzka, who's on stay back while attacking, he's gonna have support for you, even though he's on stay back while attacking in a possession slow build up play, right? It doesn't really matter. You're gonna have that support. So in a counter attacking, I have it on balanced attack because you obviously want to go faster, right? That's what counter attacking is. You want to go fast. You want to go quick. So with balanced attack, you don't want them to be kind of initially staying back and then only have 3 players forward, right? You want kind of that little bit more support so that, that center mid who's on balanced attack, he's already going to be a little bit more forward compared to another center mid. So again, it's basically just adding support. So again, if you are more possession based, then have it on stay back while attacking. If you're more counter attacking, leave it on balanced attack. And then finally, for the 3 attacking players, for our central attacking mid, for our cam, we have them on stay forward. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory, I think, just a little bit more support for the 2 strikers. A lot of people do that, and it's not really anything I feel like I have to go in depth with. And then for the strikers, again, this is going to be kind of similar to the center mids in that it kind of depends on, not necessarily, this isn't really how you play, I would say, right? For the center mids, it's more dependent on how you play and your play style, while a little bit depending on what your opponent does. For the strikers, it's definitely more dependent on what your opponent is doing. So I have them both on stay forward, right? Because the strikers, they don't need to be coming back. Maybe if you're defensive or you're winning in the 89th minute, you maybe want them to come back, but otherwise you have them on stay forward. So let's say your opponent has a really high line, right? High line, constant pressure, very aggressive. In that case, you want them on get in behind, right? And that makes sense, right? If they have a very high line, you can just send them forward, right? They're going to be in getting behind, so they're going to be making runs forward, and then you can just do over the top through balls. You can do through balls on the ground, and then you're going to be through, then you're going to score goals. So that's pretty self-explanatory as well. If they're more defensive, if they have players kind of in the box, right, they have a lot of defenders in the box, they're sitting back a lot, they're sitting deep. In that case, I would put it on target man. And the reason for that is, we all know that finesse shots are incredibly overpowered this year, right? They're incredibly overpowered. So when you have it on target man, right, you obviously don't want to get behind because there's no point, right? Everyone's sitting back. They're not going to be making runs anywhere, right? Like there's just nowhere to make a run. So being on target man, they're going to sit, a little bit more deeper for you, right? So it's going to have a little bit better link up play, but also that's going to allow you to do those 2-shot finesse or the 2-touch finesses. Right, so a lot of times people take a touch and then finesse it immediately. Take a touch, finesse it immediately. So with the target man, that allows you to do that more often because again, people are going to be sitting in the box more. Or if your opponent's doing that, right, they're going to be sitting in the box. There are going to be less players, kind of on the outside of the box, preventing that finesse shot. So with that, again, target man allows you to take those two-touch finesses. So. I touched upon, whether or not they're sitting back a lot, whether or not, they're sitting forward a lot. So if they're just kind of more balanced, right? If they're more balanced, if they're kind of, they're not super deep, but they're not holding a super high line either. In that case, I would rather have it on get in behind. So the reason for that is because, I've personally been using a lot more manual runs. So what, you look at a player, you press LB or probably L1 on PlayStation, and that immediately just sends them forward. They just start sprinting forward. So for getting behind, right? So if they're kind of just in a balanced area, I have them on getting behind. So then they're not necessarily making a run in behind, but they're already kind of moving forward, right? And target man, they're going to be kind of staying still. So, if it's on target man and I tell them to make a run forward, then they have to, turn and then actually start running, and then they'll get to full speed. Whereas in getting behind, they're not going to be at full speed necessarily. Sometimes they could be, but not necessarily. But they're already going to be moving. They're already going to be moving, so then, you don't have to wait as long, and then you can send a through ball over the top, on the ground, whatever. So, again, if they have super high line, getting behind. If they have a super deep line, they're very defensive, go to target man. And then if they're balanced, right, they don't have a deep line, they don't have a high line, then I'm going to go on getting behind. So that's probably going to be it for this video, guys. If you do have any questions over the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow instructions, just leave them in the comments down below and I'll try to answer them for you guys. And if you need me to do any other instructions for any other formation, just let me know. But like I said, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been DMG.